All right, welcome to the Explainer. We're going to get right into it today, completely demystifying the actual physical reality of a virtual machine. Now, let's be real. Most of us spend our entire careers hyper-focused on the hypervisor layer, right? We're constantly tuning CPU scheduling or tweaking virtual network switches. But today we're going underneath all of that. We are looking directly at the file system, which is quietly doing the hardest and arguably the absolutely most crucial work in your entire stack. So let's dig in. To really get this, we have to start by asking a foundational question. It's one that kind of challenges how we usually visualize our daily infrastructure. Before we can even begin to evaluate a storage platform, we have to fully understand what exactly a virtual machine is the second it hits the physical disk. Because there's a surprisingly common myth out there that a VM is just, one giant monolithic file sitting peacefully on a hard drive. But the reality is that it's a highly complex, almost chaotic collection of very specialized files. Each one of them serves a super specific purpose, and they're constantly being read from and written to, literally every single second your VM is powered on. It is definitely not a single static brick. It's a living, breathing digital ecosystem. So let's perform a bit of a visual autopsy on a VM. To truly understand this organism, we need to dissect exactly what these files are. Everything from the virtual disks to the memory states, and look at the vital jobs they perform. Because ultimately, the file system you choose is entirely responsible for keeping this exact cast of characters alive and functioning perfectly, without missing a single beat. Starting with the largest organs of our machine, we've got the virtual disk files. Depending on your hypervisor, these might be your .vmdk, .vhdx, or .qcow2 files. These guys are the heavy lifters. They represent the VM's actual hard drive, and they can range anywhere from a couple gigabytes to dozens of terabytes. And because they endure just relentless I/O pressure, we're talking constant read and write requests, exactly how your file system handles these massive files is going to dictate a massive portion of your overall performance. But surrounding those big disks are smaller, equally critical files. You've got configuration files that absolutely demand reliable atomic writes, meaning the write either completely finishes or it doesn't happen at all. If that gets messed up, it corrupts, and that's how you get a 3 a.m. pager alert. Then you've got memory state files that have to dump gigabytes of RAM to disk in a fraction of a second. And of course, log files. They seem harmless enough until you scale up to thousands of VMs, and suddenly you're drowning in continuous, massive metadata overhead. So now that we've laid out the parts, we really need to understand the laws of physics that govern how the underlying storage actually manages and protects them. Think of your file system like a city planner. It's dividing up the land and building the roads for all these files to travel on. A solid plan means smooth sailing for your data. A bad plan, well, that leads to digital traffic jams and collapsed buildings. The very first key concept keeping our little digital city running safely is journaling. A journal is essentially a write-ahead log. It acts as your absolute vital safety net against the stuff that gives IT admins nightmares, like unexpected shutdowns or sudden power failures. Before the file system actually commits a permanent change to the physical disk, it safely logs exactly what it's about to do. Think of it like this. Imagine a really meticulous chef writing down every single step of a recipe before they even turn on the stove. If the kitchen suddenly loses power mid-meal, the chef doesn't have to throw the whole meal away in frustration. They just check their log, they know exactly where they left off, and they can resume cooking without ruining the dish. That's exactly how journaling allows a system to recover seamlessly. Next up is copy on write, often just called COW. This is such a brilliant concept. With COW, the file system flat out refuses to overwrite original data in place. Instead, it writes your new data to a completely different, empty location on the disk, and then simply updates a tiny little pointer to look at the new data. Moving a pointer is practically instantaneous, and doing it this way fundamentally changes how your data is protected. The contrast in safety here is just stark. Copy on write completely protects you from partial write corruption. If the power fails right in the middle of a write, your original data, totally untouched and safe. Compare that with traditional in-place overwriting, which actually destructively modifies the original data on the disk. If that gets interrupted, you are risking severe, irreversible corruption. And as a huge bonus, copy on write is what enables those instantaneous snapshots we all rely on, because all you're really doing is saving the current state of those tiny pointers. Which perfectly brings us to snapshot management. When you actually take a snapshot, all your new writes diverge into a delta file that just grows continuously. This is exactly why having copy on write deeply integrated at the file system layer is an absolute game changer. It makes managing those snapshots drastically more efficient, and you entirely avoid that awful storage sprawl and the massive performance hits that really plague older traditional storage systems. Moving right along to space management, let's talk about extents. An extent is simply a contiguous range of blocks reserved exclusively for a single file. So rather than chopping a massive virtual disk file into a million tiny scattered pieces spread all over the place, the file system just hands it one massive, unbroken stretch of real estate. And I can't stress enough how much this matters for speed. Instead of forcing your system to track millions of individual fragmented little blocks, tracking one large extent dramatically lowers overhead. This stops severe fragmentation dead in its tracks, which is exactly what those massive virtual disk files desperately need so they don't grind to a halt under heavy I/O pressure. We also absolutely must understand metadata. If the file system is a city, then metadata is the city records department. It's simply data about the data. It does all the exhausting work of tracking the physical locations, the security permissions, the file names, and the exact sizes of every single file in your infrastructure. Because without metadata, you literally just have a disk full of random zeros and ones. Now, the really crucial point here is scale. In a big environment with thousands of VMs and millions of log files, your metadata can quickly become a massive choke point. If your file system's records department isn't built to scale up, it honestly doesn't matter how fast your fancy NVMe drives are, your entire storage performance will just collapse under its own administrative weight. Which leads us straight into block size, or sometimes you'll hear it called cluster size. Think of this as the absolute smallest unit, or the smallest box, of space that the file system can hand out when a file asks for room on the disk. Even if a tiny file only needs a single byte of space, it still takes up the entire block. It's the fundamental building block of your storage. You absolutely have to match this block size to your workload. It's a major tuning lever. Kind of like moving cargo, right? A tiny 4 kilobyte block is awesome for packing tiny files efficiently, but it creates terrible overhead for massive VM disks. Those heavy-lifting virtual disks strongly prefer larger 64 kilobyte blocks, so they can just write large chunks of sequential data quickly and efficiently. Finally, we arrive at thin provisioning. This is the ultimate file system magic trick that saves your IT budget and keeps the CFO very, very happy. It's having deep file system support for sparse files and a true copy-on-write architecture that actually makes thin provisioning possible at the base storage layer. Here's how the magic works in practice. You can confidently tell the guest operating system it has a luxurious 100 gigabyte drive, but the underlying file system only actually consumes the 20 gigabytes of physical disk space that has explicitly been written to. The remaining 80 gigs, completely virtual. That allows you to safely overcommit and save massive amounts of expensive physical capacity. So now that we've broken down the fragile anatomy of a VM and the foundational laws that govern all these vital files, I want to leave you with one critical thought. Is the file system you are relying on today actually the right tool to keep those files safe and performant? Knowing what's really happening under the hood should change how you look at your infrastructure entirely. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what's running beneath your hypervisor.